Prescott. As for the Raiders, they now have 3 first-round picks in next year's draft. Nick, you surprised the Cowboys gave up a first-rounder for Cooper?
Listen, I'm shocked at the price they paid. Are the Cowboys today closer to their goal of winning the division than they were yesterday? Yes. Did they get better at their biggest position of weakness? Yes. But did they pay not just sticker price, but way over sticker price? Absolutely. I mean, we heard that the Eagles were offering a second-rounder. The Eagles believe they're going to win the division. The Eagles believe they're going to be, that second-rounder is going to be in the late 50s. That seemed to be the market rate. And the Cowboys offer what could be the 9th or 10th pick of the draft. I thought just for the opportunity to then pay Amari Cooper $14 million next year and to potentially have to extend him. So I thought the price they paid was exorbitant, and that's without even commenting on Cooper the player. Now, you've known Cooper the player for a decade. I mean, he's 24 years old. You've known him for 8 years.
Yeah, so how much is it going to cost you besides money to be able to get a top-flight receiver? And watching the NFL draft, the draft is not a dependable way to get yourself a #1 guy. So if you're saying, I want a #1 receiver, the #1 way to do it is be able to get a guy who's a #1 in pro football right now. Now, you might have to pay a little bit more, but I disagree with you as far as the price being exorbitant, because if you look at this offseason, didn't Oakland trade a 3rd-round pick for a wide receiver? Or number 3.
I think they thought he was going to be a #2. He wasn't, but that's what they traded for him to be.
Right, but in Pittsburgh, he was a #3.
Yes. He was their speed guy. Yes.
They traded a 3rd-round pick for him. So now we're saying Amari for a 1st-round pick, like, is a guy who is consistent, doesn't have any blemishes, character-wise, off the field. Like, he's a hard worker. So, no, I don't believe the asking price is too high. And I've been following the draft. I see these guys coming to the league. In the last several years, man, guys are hard to find a #1 guy in the draft. So, for me, do I trust the talent, especially in a young player in Amari Cooper, 24 years old, turns 25 in June. If you look at Calvin Ridley, the Alabama wide receiver, the next great wide receiver, he's 23 right now, going to turn 24. Amari's only 6 months older than him. Amari's been to 2 Pro Bowls. And if you look at the last several years, the wide receivers drafted, DJ Moore in Carolina, we don't know. In 2017, Corey Davis in Tennessee at #5 pick. Amari Cooper's significantly better than him. The jury is still out on him. John Ross, the #9 pick in Cincinnati. Man, he's been a bust thus far. So when you talk about looking at the draft and trying to get a #1 wide receiver, if Dallas needs a #1 wide receiver, you're better off trading for him right now. And let me tell you this, if Philadelphia is going to get him, and I got to play against him twice for the next 4 or 5 years, I need to throw a little extra in the pot. So I believe that the market value was a high 2nd-round pick. But when you look at, I need a guy now. Also, I don't want to play against him twice and going to Philadelphia to give to Carson Wentz. So for me, it was worth a 1st-round pick because I can't evaluate my quarterback and Dak Prescott moving forward unless I give him a #1 target, and they don't have one on the roster.
What about the Dallas fans who are wondering where Amari Cooper's been the last year and a half?
Well, that's what, this is something, and that's why I wanted to pull on your experience with the player, is what has happened to him. His story was one that made sense, and you can elaborate on what his story was up until 14 months ago. And up until 14 months ago, he was a guy who was a blue-chip prospect, made 2 straight Pro Bowls as a blue-chip prospect, and then disappeared. So, like, how do we make sense of what's happened to him over the last 20 games?
Well, look at the organization. How did they support your star players? One of the other players, Khalil Mack. You see how they supported him. Jack Del Rio, Amari was on the upward trend, but also his arc is the same as their quarterback. So it's not as if their offense has been playing spectacular. You know, ever since Carr started going down, then your numbers as a wide receiver started going down. Crabtree's numbers went down. That's why he's in Baltimore now. So it's hard to be. Look at OBJ. When Eli's numbers start going down, it affects the wide receivers. So Amari, a couple couple minor injuries. The offense struggled. He's not ascending. So he is a product of that environment in Oakland. They got rid of the coach. They brought in John Gruden. Obviously, John Gruden thought there was a future there for Amari Cooper when he took over. Now, something changed along the way.
Do you have concerns then with him matching up with Dak Prescott, who he himself has not been great this season? But it's chicken and egg. It could be because
I don't have a concern about Amari. Amari is the type of wide receiver that you want. And the reason why the Cowboys, he's more useful there is because you can get him the ball a lot of different ways. He's got speed and you can run him on a reverse. He's unbelievable off the bump and run. So if you try to press him a lot with putting all those people in the box, which they do for Zeke, then he's going to be able to take apart the defense. Quick slants, and he is a deep threat that you don't have to allow to run 25 yards down the field and protect the quarterback, because he can get deep, either slanting through the defense. He's a great route runner. He's a consummate pro. He's everything you would love, Jenna. He is not a diva wide receiver. He does not need extra maintenance. You don't need to reaffirm him every day. Like, I believe that the Cowboys are going to be very, very happy to get Amari Cooper part of their football program.
Listen, I think Amari Cooper's a good player, a better player than he showed over the last year and a half. And a lot of that is from talking with Chris and learning about his story, and from just seeing it at Alabama his junior year. At Alabama, when they had no passing attack, even by Alabama standards, his junior year there, they had a bad quarterback. He had 1,700 yards and 16 touchdowns.
With Blake Sims.
With Blake Sims as his quarterback. So you know the talent's there. He hasn't suffered some major injury. My concern for the Cowboys is, we have seen this story before where they think they are a receiver away. I watched them in 2000 think they were real close and give up 2 first-round picks for Joey Galloway. I then watched them learn from that lesson so much in 2009. They gave up a first, a third, and a sixth for Roy Williams. And now they give up a first for Amari Cooper, who, even if he gets back to being the Pro Bowl guy he was, I don't know how much that moves the needle for the Cowboys.
Well, listen, if you want a top receiver, you have to pay something for him. You're not getting them for free, and obviously you're not just getting them through the draft. I like the Cowboys. I like what they did. Adding Amari Cooper gives them the real opportunity to be able to evaluate their quarterback. You cannot evaluate your quarterback, Dak Prescott, unless you give him a #1 wide receiver, and you're not. What are you going to do? Wait? Let's just throw this year away. Let's wait till the 2019 draft. Absolutely not.
Listen, that is a key part of this, which is one of the reasons I'm so skeptical of this, is the money that he instantly demands as a $14 million contract next year as opposed to a first-round draft pick receiver. But C's point that you have to make a much more important financial decision about whether or not you're giving your quarterback $20 million per year plus moving forward.
And this is how you do it.
Well, it's going to give you a better chance to fairly evaluate the quarterback. That part I agree with you on.
All right, the Cowboys now have Amari Cooper for the last 9 games of the regular season. Let's see.